What's going on, Bottom Line viewers? It's Mitch here to give you the AFC and NFC Pro Bowl snubs of the 2017 Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl, of course, is not going to be played in Hawaii this year. A lot of players, didn't even really want to play in this year's Pro Bowl, but the Pro Bowl is getting a little bit more interesting with the re-addition of skills competitions. So a lot of fans are looking forward to the Pro Bowl a little bit more, looking forward to their favorite players playing in the Pro Bowl. And once the Pro Bowl teams came out, there were quite a few people on Twitter, on the internet, just discussing the Pro Bowl and being pretty angry about the players that were selected. Here are the NFL Pro Bowl snubs of the 2017 season. I'm going to go over the AFC snubs first, the NFC snubs second. I have about, 10 guys for each team that I think could have possibly made it. If they're not borderline, then I think they were for sure should have made the team. So let's go over the AFC and NFC Pro Bowl snubs for the 2017 season. We start with the AFC. I think the most glaring omission of this team is the fact that the leading touchdown scorer in the NFL is not on the AFC Pro Bowl team. I understand it's a pretty loaded year for running backs this year, but LeGarrette Blount with 15 touchdowns should have definitely made the Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl is based off of achievement. It is based off statistic mostly, and to have 15 touchdowns and not make the Pro Bowl, to be on the best team in the AFC and not make the Pro Bowl, to be on the 7th best rushing attack in the NFL and not make the Pro Bowl, that speaks volumes. Not only to the competition, but to who's voting for these teams. Because LeGarrette Blount with 15 touchdowns, heavily relied upon to win games early in the season when Tom Brady was not there for the New England Patriots, has probably had the best season of his entire career, and I fully think that he deserves to be in the Pro Bowl. Now, Melvin Gordon is another running back that I could have seen in the Pro Bowl ballot. He was probably, at least 4th or 5th on the borderline to make the Pro Bowl this season. I think you could argue that he should have made the Pro Bowl. He's had a huge impact on the San Diego Chargers offense. They've lost multiple weapons. Danny Woodhead in the run game. They lost Keenan Allen at receiver. Multiple offensive linemen. They have tons of injuries all over their team. But one of the constants, Melvin Gordon has been injured a little bit himself, but he's been great in not only the run game, the pass game. He has a lot of versatility to his game, and I think that he deserved to also be on the ballot for the Pro Bowl. Andrew Luck is a quarterback that I believe could have made the Pro Bowl for the AFC. The one that I maybe would have switched out for would be Ben Roethlisberger. I think both of these guys have had very even statistical seasons. Andrew Luck has 27 touchdowns and 10 interceptions this year. He's playing a big comeback year after last year having all the injuries, not really playing the best football. And Ben is kind of that consistent guy. He's the more popular guy around the league, and I understand why he made it. Pittsburgh is also a better team than the Colts, but I think Andrew Luck has the bigger impact on if the Colts or the Steelers win, because really, if Andrew Luck is not there, this could be the worst team in the NFL. They don't really have a great defense. They have a terrible offensive line. They have T.Y. Hilton, but besides that, they don't really have any other weapons on their team. They have Frank Gore, who's an aging running back. Andrew Luck pieces it and puts it together for the Indianapolis Colts, and I believe that he should have made it over Big Ben Roethlisberger. Then we go to the defensive side of the ball. Zac Brown of the Buffalo Bills leads the AFC in tackles. At the middle linebacker position, he has 4 sacks and 2 forced fumbles. I think he could have easily made the Pro Bowl this year. The guys that made it were Dante Hightower and C.J. Mosley. I fully agree with the Dante Hightower pick. He's been the best middle linebacker in the AFC. And I think number 2 has been Zac Brown. C.J. Mosley of the Ravens, I don't even think has been the best middle linebacker on his team. There's a guy named Zachary Orr over there that is also very good. So he could have even gave C.J. Mosley a run for his money, but I think Mosley's name is the biggest, so that's why he was selected. But Zac Brown, if you've really been paying attention to the Bills and to defense this season, has been flying around making plays for the Bills. And even though their defense hasn't really lived up to the hype, Brown has played very good this year. Back to the offense, we have Jarvis Landry, the receiver that has the most receptions over a 3-year span in NFL history. That's pretty crazy. So I believe Jarvis Landry should have made this team. There is one guy that I think he could have replaced. That's Amari Cooper. I understand Amari Cooper is on one of the best offenses in the league with Derek Carr, but Jarvis Landry, I think, has shown more consistency over his career. This season, I think he's been, one of the only weapons that Miami has been able to use. He's consistent. He puts up good games every single time, and he doesn't really get his respect for being a slot receiver. There's a lot of slot receivers in the past. I can remember one for my Patriots, Wes Welker, who never really got a lot of respect. But when it comes to slot receivers, Jarvis Landry is the best in the NFL, and I think he deserves to make the Pro Bowl this season. Now we go to a guy that's covered Jarvis Landry in the past, Malcolm Butler. Butler has been one of the top 5 cornerbacks in the NFL, in my opinion, this season. In my opinion, he's probably even been in the top 4 cornerbacks this season. He would probably be on my all-pro team if I was selecting. He's in the top 3 for Pro Football Focus cornerback rankings. He's shut down the likes of, Emmanuel Sanders. He even went on Twitter and was complaining about how bad he shut him down. And there's been many receivers that he always goes head-to-head with the number 1 receiver on each football team, and he does a very good job. He's the big reason why the Patriots are ranked number 1 in points against for defense. So I think Malcolm Butler has been really overlooked. The guy even has a pizza commercial with Antonio Brown. You should put him in the Pro Bowl when you have a pizza commercial with Antonio Brown. Let's continue. Eric Weddle, the safety for the Baltimore Ravens. I think this was a great signing this offseason for the Ravens. He wasn't really playing great last year with the Chargers. They gave him a lot of money, and I thought that was kind of a ridiculous sum for an older player like Eric Weddle, but he has been one of the best safeties in the NFL. He's made Baltimore's defense one of the most intimidating in the league, and he's really piecing and holding together a weak secondary. A secondary that was one of the worst last season has all of a sudden been a decent one this year, and that's thanks to the likes of Eric Weddle. So I would have put Eric Weddle in instead of Reggie Nelson, in my opinion. Then we go to the defensive line, Leonard Williams for the New York Jets. Sure, the Jets are terrible, but if there's one player that's playing great, he's having the best season of his career, is Leonard Williams. He's back, 7 sacks, 29 hurries this season. He's been excellent along the defensive line for the New York Jets. And I feel like just because the Jets are bad doesn't mean that they shouldn't have a player in the Pro Bowl. There are numerous players in the interior of a 3-4 that don't get a lot of respect because he plays defensive end in a 3-4. They don't rack up the big sack numbers as a lot of 4-3 defensive ends. So I think Leonard Williams has been one of the best 3-4 defensive ends in the league, and I think he deserves to be in the Pro Bowl. Now let's talk about the NFC. We start with the biggest omission to me, which is Shawn Lee. For some reason, Shawn Lee is not in the Pro Bowl this year. He leads the NFL in tackles. He's on the best team in the NFC, and they're 12-2. You got to put the best player on, the best team in the NFC, the best player on defense, I meant to say. Shawn Lee has been one of the best middle linebackers this year. He's been healthy. A lot of people overlook him because they always feel like he's always injured. But this year, he's actually piecing together and putting together a nice season, a full 16-game season, hopefully, and into the playoffs, where he's sustaining this level of success. And he's been absolutely awesome for the Dallas Cowboys. He has been the best player by far on that defense, the leading tackler in the NFL. And I think the leading tackler in the NFL usually deserves to be in the Pro Bowl. But you look at what else Shawn Lee does. He's great in coverage. He's great in run support. And he's one of the smartest linebackers to play in the NFL right now. I think because of Luke Kuechly's injury, I fully agree with Bobby Wagner making it and starting, but I think Shawn Lee should also be in there ahead of Luke Kuechly, who's been injured for most of the season. Then we go to one of the bigger ones on offense, Drew Brees, who's a huge snub in my opinion. He leads the NFL in yards once again. He is Drew Brees. Like, why is Drew Brees not in the Pro Bowl? Usually it's a lot as a popularity contest, but for some reason Drew Brees isn't in there. I would rather have Drew Brees over Dak Prescott. I'd rather have Drew Brees over probably even Aaron Rodgers. I think that Aaron Rodgers has had inconsistent season at the beginning. He's played very, very good at the end. But I don't know. Like, I understand Dak Prescott's going to make it, but because of the fan vote and because there's a lot of Cowboys fans out there. But I don't know. If you look at the actual numbers, Drew Brees has played a lot better in terms of leading his team. He's the only real guy on this team. If there was no, Drew Brees on the New Orleans Saints, it would be very difficult to see the Saints even competing amongst the NFC South teams. So I think Drew Brees is still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL and deserves to be in the Pro Bowl. Jordy Nelson is first in receiving touchdowns this season amongst the whole entire league. I think he should be in the Pro Bowl as well. He's in the NFC with the Packers. And I think the biggest thing to argue with Jordy Nelson is you look at the Packers offense last year and you look at the Packers offense this year. There's been a big difference between with Jordy Nelson and without Jordy Nelson. And Jordy Nelson not only leads the league in receiving touchdowns, but he's allowed Aaron Rodgers to be Aaron Rodgers once again. He's allowed the Packers offense to be a threat once again. They weren't very good last year, and once Jordy Nelson got a little bit healthier this year, he's made a huge impact. So you got to put Jordy Nelson in the Pro Bowl this season. Jimmy Graham of the Seattle Seahawks is an interesting one. He's second in both receiving yards and yards per catch for the tight end position in the NFC behind Greg Olsen. I think that he should have probably made the Pro Bowl because he's on the Seattle Seahawks. He was a huge weapon and the reason why they won a lot of games early in the season. I'm kind of confused why he didn't make the Pro Bowl. But, it's Jimmy Graham. I think he was kind of borderline, but I would have put him in because of his statistics and because of how he did at the beginning of the season and really, starting the Seahawks to get on a win streak. So Jimmy Graham should have been in the Pro Bowl as well. Damon Harrison of the New York Giants. A lot of you guys probably don't know who this is, but he's a nose tackle. He played for the New York Jets last year. They signed him in New York once again, just switched teams to the Giants to be the run stuffer. And he's over 350 pounds. He's probably one of the best, if not the best, run-stuffing defensive tackle in the NFL. And he has 80 tackles for a defensive tackle. That's pretty crazy, not to mention that he's over 350. So he's a big man that's making a lot of tackles, and he's stuffing the run. If not for Damon Harrison, the New York Giants defense wouldn't be nearly as effective. And I feel like just because you don't get a lot of sacks doesn't mean you shouldn't be in the Pro Bowl if you're a defensive lineman. Matt Stafford, he is an MVP candidate, and he didn't make the Pro Bowl. Very interesting. He's had the most comebacks. I don't even know. I think it's like a record. He had like eight of the 9 wins that the Detroit Lions have been a comeback, and you're not going to put Matt Stafford in the Pro Bowl. That's pretty crazy to me. I think Matt Stafford has played better than Aaron Rodgers. I think Matt Stafford has played better than Dak Prescott. So, I would put both Matt Stafford and Drew Brees in the Pro Bowl over Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott. That's just my opinion, though. Matt Stafford, for a long time, was an MVP candidate. Is he still an MVP candidate against the Giants after that Giants performance? We'll see. But he's definitely had a great season and the biggest reason why the Lions are heading to the playoffs right now. David Bakhtiari, sorry if I mispronounced that, but he's the tackle for the Green Bay Packers. He's on the best pass blocking offensive line in the NFL. The Green Bay Packers offense, the reason why they've been able to, not only with the addition of Jordy Nelson, but get back to being one of the best offenses. You got Aaron Rodgers, you got Jordy Nelson, but the biggest overlooked thing is their offensive line. They give so much time for Aaron Rodgers to throw, and Bakhtiari is one of the biggest reasons why. He's one of the best pass blocking offensive linemen in the league. I think that he probably could have made it in over a guy like Justin Peters. I just see you got to recognize the best offensive lines in the league, and by them only having one representative, I think that they probably should have had a tackle over a guard, but that's just my opinion. Bakhtiari, I think, deserves to be in the Pro Bowl as well. And the last one that I think was kind of a borderline one, but I also want to mention him, is Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard, I know there's been a lot of good running backs this season, but Jordan Howard's done a lot of work over, half of the season for a lot of guys because they didn't really know who they were going to start at running back. You remember they had Langford starting for a long time, but Jordan Howard's been the only glimpse of hope for the Chicago Bears this entire season. He's really been the reason why they've even won any of their games. He's been very consistent running the football, and he's been good out of the backfield in the passing game. I feel like Jordan Howard is a guy that's been very overlooked because the Bears aren't very good. So these are the guys that I think are the biggest Pro Bowl snubs of the 2016-2017 Pro Bowl. Let me know who your biggest snubs are. Did I miss any snubs? Who do you have in the Pro Bowl? Who would you take out? Who are the surprises that made the teams? Who are the surprises that were left off? Let me know. It's Mitch of The Bottom Line View. For more NFL content, subscribe to The Bottom Line View, like the video, and peace out, guys.